As you come up to 10, that is their God. That is 10. That is the hermaphrodite. But if you stop at 9 and you skip to 11, skipping God, then you are a Luciferian. Because 11 is the number of the magician. It's the one step above. Once you have accomplished the tree of life, you are now the magician. You are one above 10. But they're doing it by skipping God. That's the symbolism of 9/11.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
We're on assignment. We were supposed to kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
In Fight Club, Project Mayhem destroys a giant bronze spherical sculpture. This seems an obvious reference to the sphere at the World Trade Center complex.
Trust me, everything's gonna be fine.
In a pivotal scene reminiscent of 9/11, we see the destruction of skyscrapers and the change of a skyline.
Second anniversary of the 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center, George Bush asked for an $87 billion increase in military spending.
In 1904, Crowley would receive the Book of the Law soon after meditating in the King's Chamber of the Great Pyramid. He claimed he had been contacted by a being called Aiwass. Crowley would also use this symbol in his work. Some of its meanings are said to include a reference to the number 77 in Hebrew and a connection to the god Pan. Crowley made this drawing of a non-human intelligence he saw during a ritual. Synchronous 23 has made the connection between Aiwass and the Wizard of Oz, and has further pointed out the similarities between Crowley's grey alien-like drawing and the depiction of the projection of the Wizard of Oz in the film version. The much overlooked theory has been put forward on the internet that when we are looking at George W. Bush, we are actually seeing Aleister Crowley's grandson. I have suggested that this video footage of George W. Bush reading The Pet Goat, coinciding with the start of the 9/11 mega ritual, is in fact a dedication of the 9/11 mega ritual to the great god Pan by Aleister Crowley's grandson. Things get a little weird. This is the 1978 version of The Wizard of Oz, The Wiz. Again we see the Emerald City connected to New York. On arriving at the end of the Yellow Brick Road, Dorothy and her companions go through the circular portal. Through the door we see 3 pyramids. Behind the pyramid shape, in between the pyramid pillars of the World Trade Center, we see the sphere, the representation of the Kaaba. The inhabitants of Oz dance around the sphere in ritualistic fashion. Fashioned in giant letters over the dome of the sphere, we see the word Oz. Oz, symbols of Pan and Aiwass, seen smack at the heart where the new Aeon was ushered in and where the Stargate was opened. between the Twin Towers is called the spherical caryatid. It was made by artist Fritz Koenig and was nicknamed the Sphere. We see that Koenig made this thing in Bavaria, the same place where the Illuminati was founded. The most interesting fact about the placement of the Sphere at the World Trade Center Plaza has to be that architect and designer of the World Trade Center, Minoru Yamasaki, intended the plaza itself to be a representation of the Grand Mosque of Mecca, the Sphere in particular taking the place of the Kaaba.
Many of the United States presidents have blood relations with each other. The Bush lineage has blood ties to a great number of former presidents. George Washington, Millard Fillmore, Franklin Pierce, Abraham Lincoln, Ulysses Grant, Rutherford Hayes, James Garfield, Grover Cleveland, Teddy Roosevelt, William Taft, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, Franklin Roosevelt, Richard Nixon, and Gerald Ford. Michael Tessarion points out in his work that Bush is closely related to every European monarch on and off the throne, and has kinship with every member of Britain's royal family. Bush's family tree can be documented as far back as the early 15th century. He has a direct descent from Henry III and from Henry VIII's sister Mary Tudor. He is also descended from Charles II of England. And we also find that George W. Bush is a direct descendant of Godfrey de Bouillon. Godfrey was the first king of Jerusalem after he recaptured it from the Saracens, which was the name for the Islamic faith during the Middle Ages. It is interesting to note that the current occupation of the United States in the Middle East was re-established by the same family, George Bush Sr. in 1991, and again by George Bush Jr. in 2003. George Bush Jr. is then found to be a cousin to both opposing candidates of his 2 terms in office, Al Gore and John Kerry. Democratic President Barack Obama also has blood ties with George W. Bush, as well as Gerald Ford, Lyndon Johnson, Harry Truman, James Madison, and the British Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill. On the opposing side of the 2008 presidential ballot, John McCain is descended from Robert the Bruce, King William I of Scotland, and also Godfrey de Bouillon.
But everyone tried it the wrong way. Everyone has tried to take over the world with military, and everyone has discovered that military will not work. You cannot police and militarize enough to take over the world. So the Illuminati in 1776 developed a whole new concept of how to pull this project off. Instead of trying to force people into a new order or a totalitarian dictatorship on the military, which you cannot do because people are always going to rebel at that, the idea was developed by Adam Weishaupt to create enough violence and create enough chaos and enough bloodshed to frighten the world, so that the entire world of mankind would one day come to the conclusion that there's too much bloodshed, too much crime, and there's just no possible way for the human race to exist unless we come together and pool our resources, and all of us accept one government and one order, and we will all live together in peaceful, happy, on one family, and nothing can be further from the truth that the chaos, that is being developed today is being developed purposely to cause us to be frightened into accepting as a remedy a new order of the world, which will be a total dictatorship of the earth.
The most powerful means of mass manipulation which has been played this card for thousands of years, and we're still falling for it. And it is this more than anything that's advanced this agenda to centralization of global power. I call it problem-reaction-solution. It works like this. You want to bring something in here, centralization of power, more power for the police, more power for security agencies, whatever, and you know that if you do it openly and honestly, there's going to be a reaction against it. We're not having this. This is a global fascist state. Go away. We're not standing for this. This is outrageous. That's what you're going to get if you do it openly. So you don't. What you do is you create a problem here. Could be society breaking down, so there is more crime, so people get in fear of being mugged and being burgled. Could be war, it could be a terrorist bomb, an economic collapse, whatever. and you create a problem, but you get someone else to be blamed for it. You get a Lee Harvey Oswald, you get these patsies, as they call them in America, who are blamed for events that they weren't involved in. You then get the people in general, by the way that you report your problem, to react by demanding you do something. This can't go on, do something. What are they going to do about it? And at that point, those who covertly created the problem and got that reaction, something must be done, then openly offer the solutions to the problems they have themselves created. Problem, reaction, solution.
George W. Bush is a direct descendant of Godfrey de Bouillon. The Bouillons were servants of Pope Gregory VII and led the European noblemen into the crusade in order to recapture Jerusalem from the Islamic faith. He became the first king of Jerusalem and Duke of Lower Lorraine, which was known as a major region for the bloodline linked to the Illuminati. Bush is closely related to every European monarch. He is the 13th cousin of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Charles. He also has kinship with every member of the British royal family, the House of Windsor. The House of Windsor is known for abandoning their German names after World War I due to criticism of the people. A lesser-known fact about the House of Windsor, however, is the heavy funding contribution to bring Adolf Hitler to power in the rise of World War II. The swastika is actually a symbol of the sun, referencing to the sun order of the occult.
The ancient texts of Islam warn us that the Antichrist, as foretold in the Quran, in which the Antichrist is called the Dajjal, will be assisted by many minor Antichrists. But in the Bible texts, we see that the Antichrist will seek to kill the coming second Messiah. This will be done, apparently, by mass killings of children around the world. Famine, pestilence, plague, and war will be used to kill thousands of children each day. In actual fact, before our very eyes, every day 26,000 children die from starvation and preventable diseases such as the common cold. Politicians are advancing a global plan, the plan of the Antichrist. This is the doctrine of Lucifer, which Freemasons, Knights Templar, and members of the Illuminati global network of secret societies follow.